Let's be real for a second. Most beginners are not confused by the fantasy elements of Dungeons and Dragons. I mean, you know what a dragon is, right? You know what a wizard does. The magic isn't the confusing part. What you are confused by is the actual structure of play. How do you sit at a table for hours with a piece of paper and a handful of dice and actually, play? Well, this explainer breaks down exactly what happens at the table. By the end of this, you're going to be completely ready for your first session. So let's tackle the absolute biggest hurdle for new players right out of the gate. The most common fear beginners have isn't about memorizing complex math or lore. It's social anxiety. It's sitting there looking at a complex character sheet that kind of looks like a tax return, listening to your friends throw around terms you don't know and thinking, what do I actually say during the game? Like, when is it my turn to speak? If you're preparing for your first session and feeling this exact way, I promise you, you are not alone. But here is the most comforting secret about D&D. The entire game is built on a very simple, predictable, and frankly reassuring conversation loop. It's a rhythm, and once you feel that rhythm, the pressure comes right off your shoulders. It goes like this. Step 1. The Dungeon Master or DM describes the environment. Step 2. You and the other players describe what you want your characters to do. And Step 3, the DM narrates the results of your actions. That's literally it. That cycle just repeats for the entire game. So let's break down exactly what each of these steps looks like in practice. Starting with Step 1, the environment. This is where the Dungeon Master sets the stage for the adventure. They are your host, the referee, and basically your 5 senses in the world. In this step, you don't have to do anything but listen and visualize. The DM is going to present a basic scope of options. For instance, they might describe your approach to a ruined castle, telling you about a creaking, rusted drawbridge suspended over a foggy abyss, decaying wooden gates, and, I don't know, stone gargoyles staring down with empty sockets. They're essentially handing you puzzle pieces: the bridge, the abyss, the gates, the gargoyles. Your job is simply to absorb the physical surroundings, any visible characters, potential dangers, and points of interest. Just listen for the things you can interact with. That brings us to Step 2, your choice. Once the DM finishes describing that scene, the imaginary spotlight swings right over to you. The burden of action passes to the players. The DM is basically asking, whether implicitly or explicitly, okay, what do you do? Now, the absolutely crucial point here is to focus entirely on your intent, not the game mechanics. A massive mistake new players make is thinking they have to speak in rigid video game terms. They'll look at their character sheet, see the word perception, and ask, can I roll a perception check? Actually, scratch that, don't do that. You do not need to memorize rulebooks. You don't even need to speak in a funny voice or act in character if you don't want to. You only need to describe what you're trying to achieve in the world. You simply state your choice using natural phrasing. You just tell the DM, I check the door for traps, or I try to persuade the guard, or maybe I want to sneak past the sleeping goblin. Why does this work so beautifully? Because you don't need to know if persuading a guard relies on your charisma stat or your wisdom stat. You just state your goal, and the DM, who already knows all the rules, does the heavy lifting for you. They will translate your natural language into the game's mechanics and tell you which rule applies. Which leads us directly into Step 3, the resolution. You've made your choice, and now the ball is back in the DM's court. They determine what happens next and narrate the resolution. Sometimes resolving an action is incredibly simple. If you just want to walk across a tavern room or open an unlocked door, it happens automatically. We don't roll dice to tie our shoes, right? The DM just says, you open the door, and inside you see a bed. But if your action is risky, if there's a chance of failure, a chance things might go sideways, we introduce the mechanics. That is when the game uses dice. So if you're trying to sneak past that sleeping goblin, the outcome is definitely uncertain. That's when the dice come out. The DM will say, okay, roll a stealth check. You'll pick up your iconic 20-sided die, the D20, and give it a roll. Then you just look at the number you rolled and add a small number from your character sheet, an ability modifier, like a +2 or +3. You give the DM that total. The DM then compares your total to a hidden number called a difficulty class, or DC. To put that into perspective, an easy task is usually a DC 10, a medium task is a 15, and a really hard task is a 20. If your roll equals or beats that target, boom, you succeed. You sneak right past the goblin. If it's lower, you fail. And the DM narrates the messy and honestly, usually hilarious consequences. Let's look at this loop in action. I'm going to walk you through a rapid mini scene so you can truly hear the rhythm of play we've been talking about. Just listen to how natural this flows. The DM says, The tavern hallway ends in a sturdy, locked wooden door. The player responds, "I want to listen closely for voices on the other side." The DM asks for the mechanic. "Okay, roll a wisdom perception check." The player rolls their d20 and says, "I rolled a 16. The DM compares that to the difficulty class and narrates the result. You hear the faint, gruff whispering of bandits. Do you see the loop there? The world is described. You make a choice using natural language. The dice resolve the uncertainty, and the story immediately moves forward. That right there is D&D.
Now, let's talk about free-flowing scenes versus combat. What's really interesting about this conversation loop is how it slightly shifts when swords are drawn and danger is imminent. The game basically has two gears. For the vast majority of the game, while you're exploring ancient ruins, solving puzzles, or hanging out socializing in a city, the game is free-flowing. You don't need to take formal turns, anyone can speak up, ask questions, and declare actions. But when an enemy appears, we need a fair way to decide who acts first, so combat requires a highly structured approach. When combat breaks out, the very first thing you do is roll initiative, which is just a d20 roll plus your dexterity modifier to establish a strict turn order. Combat happens in rounds, and in the world of the game, one full round equals exactly 6 seconds. When it is your turn in the order, you get to move your character and you get to take one specific action. You might say, "I attack the goblin with my sword," or maybe you cast a blazing fire spell that lights up the cavern, dash across the room to take cover behind a pillar, dodge an incoming volley of arrows, or even try to physically shove an enemy off a ledge. Once your 6-second turn is over, you wait until everyone else in the initiative order has taken their turn, and then the whole round begins again. Let's wrap this up with your personal participation script. Okay, so you know the basic loop, and you know the difference between exploring and fighting. To make sure you feel completely 100% ready for your first session, I'm going to give you a simple little cheat code, a participation script. Whenever you feel stuck, whenever the table goes quiet and the DM looks at you, just start your sentence with these 3 words. I want to. I want to look for danger. I want to calm the horse. I want to sneak past the guards. This single phrase is a game changer. It keeps you focused on your character's intent, and it gives the DM exactly what they need to keep the game moving. Rely on this framework, especially when you're just starting out. And remember, it is completely okay to ask questions. First, ask the DM clarifying questions to get your bearings. You can absolutely say, "Wait, how tall is the ceiling?" Or "Does the guard look angry?" Then confidently describe your intent using our magic phrase. And finally, roll the dice if they ask you to, and just listen as the DM narrates the consequences of your actions. You've absolutely got this. Ultimately, you do not need rules mastery to play this game. That's what the DM is there for, to handle the complex mechanics. You just need to bring your imagination and embrace this shared ongoing conversation. Once you understand the basic rhythm, D&D becomes much less mysterious. The world is described, you make a choice, and the adventure moves forward. It really is that simple. For more beginner guides that make D&D simple, subscribe to The Young Master and continue your journey from confused newcomer to confident adventurer. So the only question left to ask yourself before you sit down at the table is, what will your very first choice be?